We've got blood and guts, news and rumors this week on Wrestling with the Business. We're back. The gang's all here, and we're going to talk some wrestling today. We got Adam Perry, we got Jeremy Bodette, Matt Lambert, and the Divas champ himself, Dan Shevlin. Looking glamorous. Glamorous.
Dressed to impress as the champ.
So we got a bunch of headlines to go over. We had a big show on AEW this week we'll mention here. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about this week's highlights. Let's do our high spot, our botch spot. SmackDown last week. What happened, Jer? SmackDown was a decent show. There was a lot going on, a lot of action. Bloodlines dipping a little bit, so they didn't make my list. We were at North Carolina State, PNC Arena. My honorable mention high spot, we'll go with, was there was a clever vignette in the back with Charlotte, Bayley, Io Sky, and Adam Pearce. The setup at the beginning of the show was that they're kind of setting up the whole Charlotte, Bianca Belair, Asuka showdown, the three-way match that they're clearly setting up for SummerSlam. And they've been doing this dusty finish thing where, you know, each girl gets a shot at Asuka, and then there's a dusty finish where one of them interferes sort of incidentally, and then, you know, the match gets called, and so any of them could have won, kind of a thing. That's how they're trying to build heat. Well, backstage, of course, Pierce is running around like, okay, nobody can interfere with anything. So Charlotte's like walking off with her luggage, and she's like, no, I'm confident, you've got things under control here. And then out of nowhere, Io Sky shows up and is like, hey, anything can happen tonight. And then Charlotte reappears with her luggage and is like, oh, I'm gonna stay. I thought that was kind of funny. There was the first U.S. Championship tournament match took place. That was my high spot. That match was excellent. It was Butch, Santos Escobar, AJ Styles, and Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller really showing some chops here. Actually, the specific high spot was Waller took what I'm calling a sunset flip double superplex powerbomb off the top.
Wow, okay.
You had like Grayson Waller standing up on the top turnbuckle in the corner. Mm-hmm. You had two, I think it was Butch and Escobar on either side, both ready for a superplex on him. And then you had AJ Styles come up, I think it was AJ Styles, come up from the bottom and like double powerbomb.
Okay. Tower of Doom.
A variation of the Tower of Doom,
yep.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. But he took it like a champ. I mean, he didn't go over, but he did very well. Selena Vega versus Bayley was my down spot. They brought the flip-flop back, smacking Bayley with a flip-flop.
Yeah, I don't think that gets over anywhere but Puerto Rico.
Bayley went over. Thankfully, it was very short. But
was that the match that Bayley might have hurt herself in?
It wasn't Bayley. It was Liv Morgan. It was Monday night.
Oh, I thought Bayley like tweaked her knee or something.
Not to give too much away from Adam here. I don't know if this falls into it, but they lost the titles, and there are rumors that she was injured as a result of in that match.
I thought something happened to Bayley too. All right.
So, no, it wasn't Bayley. Bayley's
What's
burning all lights.
Adam Pearce's role? Is he ever like an official
bald dude
title?
with glasses.
Bitch.
I think he's just WWE official.
I don't know if he's
That's
he was a decent wrestler. I don't know why. Is he injured? I don't know why they've been doing this.
I saw actually no, I didn't click on it and read it, but I saw something was up like in the last couple of days where I think he did an interview and he talks about why he wasn't wrestling anymore or something. I really wasn't really that interested, so I didn't click and read it. But it was something like why Pierce is done wrestling or something like that. I don't personally remember him that much as a wrestler. Maybe it just
he was more in the Indies and Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I don't really remember his wrestling background.
He doesn't. He was a mid card guy. He was never like winning the championship or anything. But I don't know. I think they need some semblance of some kind of, at least somebody that you can, a messenger from the gods, an oracle at least.
You were just talking. You want me to tell you what I was thinking about the whole time you were talking about the U.S. tournament? Like, I'm saying to myself, Who is setting that?
Yeah, who's putting this?
Like that's that's what my problem was with all WWE content right now. There's like no real clear direction.
There's no structure.
Running, like who made this match? Like that's all, like who? I mean, obviously I know writers in the background, but like when it comes to storytelling, who made that match? Like who determined we're having a United States Championship?
Who's Paul
tournament?
Heyman calling every time?
Well, I think it's Paul Heyman who. Paul Heyman went on a big thing a couple years ago about how WWE had to get rid of authority figures and that it's been way overused. No one wants it anymore. It's something that takes up time and storytelling that no one wants. Like I normally like Paul Heyman, but I completely disagree with that.
I think he just wanted to insert himself in there as the authority figure.
So I found the article talking about Adam Pearce and why he doesn't wrestle, and ultimately it comes down to he doesn't want to. He's 45 years old and he doesn't want to wrestle full time. So
AK probably wasn't that good.
Good for him. I mean, he's making six figures not wrestling.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be in.
We all aren't wrestling, and
he doesn't seem to be broken down. So
as Adam put it, he's the bitch behind the scenes.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, you pay me 250 G's, I'll be the bitch. So,
Adam, what happened on Raw?
All right. Well, if we're just sticking to high spots and botches, I got a couple things. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm getting really bored with Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes.
Oh, you never thought you'd say that?
It's to that point.
It's boring. Like you're misusing Cody Rhodes, and it's just boring. It's done. It's old.
I've read some things that they're saying that there's some whispers that people are afraid he's going to get like John Cena.
Yeah.
Rhodes, he's going to like get over too much, and then he's going to start getting go away heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what. Probably the best part of the night was the face-to-face promo between Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. I mean, we don't see stuff like that anymore. Seth Rollins wasn't doing his cartoon character gimmick. It looked real. It felt real. You could feel the tension.
They were getting a little personal.
Great promo. Great, and it was different. It wasn't the in-ring, bantering. It was a face-to-face. I think it was the best part of the show, personally. Ronda Rousey with a promo that's 2 weeks too late. No one cares.
I heard the delivery wasn't all that great either.
No.
Her delivery is
no.
good.
Is she ever good at delivery? She's really never good. She's a Brock Lesnar. She's not.
Yeah, you
good.
weren't with us last week, but we did read that she has no interest in going back to UFC.
Really?
Yeah, that as far as she's concerned, that's done. She's going to stick to WWE.
So.
I mean, that was
the big rumors, but cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that could change any day.
Yeah, I mean the latest.
Yeah.
It's just the
But can
latest.
she really even compete? I mean, come
no,
on.
no,
I mean,
no. She could commentary. I think she could do commentary.
She can't compete. You can't step into the ring at, I don't know, what's her age? But Brock Lesnar's going to be, what, 45?
She's older than us, 40. She might be 40.
Step into the octagon and at 45 and fight. Like, come on. I mean, no.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't ever say she couldn't do it
never,
with the caliber of athlete she is.
She is only 36.
I knew she's young. Brock Lesnar's up there.
He's 45. That I've looked up recently.
All right.
And what's... Oh, sorry. That was your botch spot?
No, the big botch spot was the fucking tattoo.
Tattoo?
You didn't catch that?
Mm-mm.
So... The only way Trish Stratus is going to wrestle Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
And, you could hear the collective, really? In the fucking arena.
If she loses,
it went dead silent.
Yeah.
Like, no reaction, no nothing. Like, really, guys? A tattoo?
If she loses, she gets "Thank you, Trish" on her chest or
I know,
something like that.
tattooed on her chest.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not losing.
Yeah, Becky's winning.
I mean, it's like, really, guys? You couldn't at least do, a hair match? Because at least we know they'll go there. I mean, you really think Becky Lynch is going to, unless she's willing to get a temporary tattoo every single night put on her chest, or,
cover up.
Or covers her chest every single night for the rest of her life.
Right.
Do you think that rivalry is getting stale?
It's stupid, dude. It's really stupid.
I don't think it had a chance to get
mean,
stale.
we're at that point now where
Yeah.
we've been talking about these rivalries: Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes, Becky Lynch. Since what,
tired.
March?
Yeah, it's tired. Yeah,
Since March. I mean, we knew this was going to be SummerSlam. Was going to be, and now you're talking about the Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes. Like, we're at that point. It's 2 weeks away from being done.
Yeah.
They've now done this since whatever. I mean, he won one. Now we're at that point where it's like, ending. How are they going to deliver the ending of it? And it's getting stale.
They announced Survivor Series in Chicago, 11/25, as well. So,
I do think
AEW is going to be in Chicago for Thanksgiving. I thought they're not allowed to run the same cities.
no, it's venue. You can't do the city.
I think AEW does a different venue, right?
Yeah, they run a different. They can. A Survivor Series is going to be at whatever the big.
But I do think, speaking of the Seth Rollins Finn Balor, I do think I was one pay-per-view too early on the belt change. I think it's happening. I mean, come on.
Well,
you can't keep having matches on pay-per-views and Seth win every time. You got to give it to Finn.
To agree with you, but it's based off of some news and rumors that
we'll get to in a bit.
Yeah.
But,
all right. Well,
hey, our predictions are next week.
Yeah, we'll do that next week. But
and I'm showing no mercy on those, by the way.
I don't remember where they were this week. We checked.
Because you didn't mention, I noticed that you didn't mention the women's titles finally going to Green Devil, Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville.
Well, I do have it in my notes, but
I mean, was that was in the middle? That one didn't qualify for you.
If we were going strictly shitty spots, best spots, it didn't qualify. I thought the Seth Rollins promo was way better than. I thought that was the best part of the show.
Since you bring it up, though, they're 3 champions in 3 weeks or whatever.
That's what I thought you would say. I thought you would say the belt is changing hands.
Well, no, it's great that the belt's changing hands, and I really like the Rhea Ripley throw in there now between.
They are so desperate.
Rod.
They're so desperate to give her anything to work with.
Yeah,
that they've literally ripped apart so she could feud with Liv Morgan.
Yeah,
Raquel Rodriguez.
Or sorry, Raquel. Ugh.
So I think that's a good direction.
I know.
Stop embarrassing Natty Neidhart and give Rhea something to actually do.
I mean,
give her a story.
It would be cool to see her. It's just, I mean, she won't go over, but for Raquel to get to stretch herself a little bit.
Yeah.
See what she can do.
I think maybe once Becky's done with Trish, maybe that's because nobody else is really on the level of Rhea, right? Maybe Becky's the next.
Charlotte.
feud.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go to the other promo.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Blood and Guts.
Blood and Guts. So AEW, Blood and Guts is actually not my high spot. It was a good match. It was awesome to see Kota Ibushi there finally in AEW. Probably my honorable mention high spot would be the Adam Cole MJF tag match from this week. They finally hit the double clothesline and the crowd went banana. It was crazy.
That's That's story.
I gotta say though, my fiance said that's the best match she's ever seen. The MJF, Adam Cole versus Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia started with a dance off.
It did start with a dance off.
It was very sports entertainment. She loved it. But my actual high spot for AEW actually came from Collision last week. FTR versus Bullet Club Gold, 2 out of 3 falls for the tag titles. Oh my God, this match was awesome. It went nearly a full hour. Classic tag team wrestling, as only FTR can do. Very old school. Yeah, that was the best match I've seen in quite some time, especially tag match. But yeah, that's my high spot. Botch spot of the week, though. Britt Baker was in a squash match on Dynamite, which I understand Blood and Guts was going to take up the majority of the episode of Dynamite, so there wasn't a lot of time. There was only 4 matches total on the episode. But Britt Baker got a squash match against our own local wrestler, Kayla Sparks, which was good to see her on TV. But it was a 2-minute squash that really did nothing for anybody. That was kind of... I was thinking it was going to lead to some sort of angle after the match, but it just led to nothing. So it was kind of a waste opportunity. But that's all I got. So how about Oh, yeah.
I want to ask a question. I want you to explain it to me as a casual WWE fan who doesn't know much about AEW. I'm going to talk as someone like that. What's the purpose of blood and guts on regular television?
On regular television, I mean, pop a rating.
Is that all?
AEW, because they only do 4 or 5 pay-per-views a year,
right?
They got to have the TV specials.
So what was the format? 1 hour of regular Dynamite?
Basically, and then the Blood and Guts was at least 45 minutes long, if not more.
So how many matches did they do? Like 3 or 4?
There was the tag match. There was the Britt Baker match.
So it'd be equivalent to like WWE saying we're going to do SummerSlam for like the final hour of...
Not even SummerSlam. It's like different. It would be like
Judgment
a B or a
Day.
C level pay-per-view.
Yeah,
it would be like Fastlane.
Fastlane.
Like an abbreviated
But I
Fastlane.
thought Blood and Guts was a bigger pay-per-view. Didn't they do a couple pay-per-views for Blood and Guts or no?
No.
They've always done Blood and Guts on TV.
It'd be more like Money in the Bank because it's like a special event revolving around a particular match with a particular stipulation.
See, I can see Money in the Bank being an hour of Raw.
It'd be more like Money in the Bank.
NXT did the War Games.
War Games, yes.
They might have done it once on TV, but yeah, they usually did it at a pay-per-view or at a takeover. NXT's pay-per-views.
I mean, I'm glad it drew them a rating.
Oh yeah,
it just goes on to my whole thing with AEW. I just think there's just too much going on sometimes.
Speaking of ratings, good segue.
There we go. So let me just go right down the list. I'll start with Jeremy. SmackDown 2.3 million. Obviously, still the number one show out of all of them. Raw 1.8. Dynamite was 953,000. Collision was 579,000. NXT, big increase, 746,000, and then Rampage 310. So what does that mean, real quick, to everyone here, when NXT is beating Collision? Is that good, bad? Even though it's a new show, there's still a lot of hype and power and
I think
there's
one reason NXT's beating Collision, and that's because they're bringing in the big guns. Judgment Day has made multiple appearances.
Yep.
They just put the North American title on Dom's shoulders, Dom's waist, as it were. So now Judgment Day essentially has Dom's championship, Rhea's championship. You got Finn that's contending, and you've got Mr. Money in the Bank.
They're all going to have
Damian
titles.
Priest.
It's going to be.
I mean, it plays pretty well. It is interesting that they sent Dom down there to win the North American. And they were setting up Lee with... Who were they promoting him with on the next big NXT event?
Wesley?
Yeah, they were like pitching him in a North American match against somebody, and now it's totally botched because they gave the title. Like, that's a last minute... That stinks of Vince, even though it's NXT. That's a Vince kind of thing to do to swerve
Vince has
like
probably
that.
got his hand in NXT since it's been on network TV.
Well, maybe.
None of us if any of us really surprised at Rampage 310,000. I mean, it's a 1 hour pre-tape.
That's decent for them, though.
It's not bad.
They were 250 for a long time. Pretty good for them.
And we mentioned this last week, especially with Collision, but I'm sure it applies to Rampage. Warner Brothers is more concerned with how they rate, how their shows rate compared to other shows, like how they are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
They want to be the first in their time slot in there.
Right. If they're in the top 5 for the night, that's all they care about.
They just want to be the best.
Sometimes they just want the demographics. They're not even interested.
Yeah,
they want the 18 to 49.
They don't care. Oh, we only did 210,000. Yeah, but nobody else did more than 150.
And we were number 3 for the night.
Or we're overall in the top list. So,
but
it's about being faster than the band.
I don't know. I mean, and one more question. I know because I want to keep bringing this up every week. And I wasn't able to last week. But Collision, do you think it's rating wise? Do you think it's if you thought about it when it first started, where do you think it would be compared to where it's at now?
I figured it'd be around the 500,000, 600,000 mark. Yeah, so they're about where I was figuring they'd be. And if they keep doing stuff like this tag match they had last week, I mean, I think that number will go up.
It's hard. I think, it's a tough, like you were saying, Adam, it's just a tough time slot at almost any time of the year. I think if they can consistently get 700, 750, you might see a switch out where you might see Dynamite go to another night and Collision might get Wednesday.
So speaking of Collision, let's slide right into the next segment because we have that door that opened up there. CM Punk had a meeting this past week where he talked to all the wrestlers. Apparently everyone backstage, I would imagine to everyone that's part of Collision, talking about how they can make themselves different than Dynamite and other wrestling shows. my thought on that, and I'll let you guys say what you think in a second, but I guess my thought on that, this was a guy, CM Punk or not, show around him or not, this was a guy 5 weeks ago that was going to leave the company, now he's back in the company, was going to leave the company, and he's back, and now he's leading. I mean, do you really think everyone in that back locker room is looking up to CM Punk? And you say, we're going to follow this guy's lead. CM Punk's the answer. I don't like, maybe this could work into a rant a little bit, I don't like how much power we're putting behind CM Punk. That just makes a whole show. This show, if you want to be successful and you want to be on this show, you better kiss CM Punk's feet because that's what you got to do to be part of it. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. I mean, is that really what they want to make the show about?
He's always been that locker room leader type personality, though. Even back in his WWE days, he would always,
I think,
whether rightfully or
not. Is he the leader you want, though? Yes or no? If you were the executive director of Collision, is he the guy you want leading your locker room?
Me personally, no.
Now that the dust has settled on the whole CM Punk is he in or is he out kind of a thing, and like he's got his own show, the more I look back on it, the more I'm like, that was all a work. The more I'm like, there was no information leaking from Tony Khan about like all these dramatic things happening or whatever. It was all like pure media and fan speculation. Yeah. That's all that it was. So I have to tell you, like, in and out 5 weeks ago, he was in and out. Yeah, I mean, that was the angle that everybody was getting. But I don't think there was anything to it. I think it was all a mirage. I think he knew he was going to, for a long time, it might have been that way a long time ago, but for the last several months, you don't set up a television show haphazardly like that. Like,
right.
You have to know Punk's coming back for an extended period of time. So,
Adam, is he your guy?
I would put him, nobody else on that show would I put above him in the locker room. It's his show. There's no question about it. It's his show.
But that just makes the whole thing bad. Like, this is why maybe AEW can't get to that level. Like, you think WWE can make a show about one guy? And go, hey, this show is going to be all about Finn Balor. Everyone else can go join. Like, it's like...
No. What I mean is that was a show... That was a cage that you could keep him in, because he wouldn't play nice.
Let's be honest with you. We're only creating Collision and putting CM Punk on it because he doesn't get along with the other 45 main talent guys. That's the only reason why.
It killed two birds with one stone. You needed some place for CM Punk to go that was isolated. You needed to create more content to make Warner Brothers happy. I don't know. What do you think?
Does it really matter?
Our nihilist here. We're all just going to die someday.
I mean, listen, we all know what CM Punk is now. He either play by his rules or he rips you apart. So if you're a young talent in that locker room trying to make it, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you're screwed.
What are you going to do?
You bring up a good point with young talent. You got to do.
So yeah, you're gonna until you have stroke, you're gonna fall in line. So
I just don't think he's carrying the same stock that he used to.
Is Christian on Collision? Who are the other veterans besides Punk with as much or more experience than Punk?
I think he might be on Collision. They just had a match.
He's a guy that he's the only other guy that I can think of.
Luchasaurus just defended the
Samoa Joe
on Collision.
Is Samoa Joe on that?
He's more Ring of Honor.
Is he?
Yeah, he's still the Ring of Honor TV champ.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, there's not too many guys. So I mean, to Adam's point, like if it's all young talent, what are you gonna do?
Or maybe that's the purpose of the show. We're gonna bring people who aren't star power over there and then try to build them up where they can head over to Dynamite and maybe that's the purpose. But either way, WWE news, Judgment Day. We talked about, are they stepping up now and becoming the new Bloodline, you think? Bloodline's falling apart, chaos over there. Meanwhile, the Bloodline, you can see by the reactions and the attention they're getting, the Judgment Day is what people want to watch right now. I think they're starting to get a little tired of the Bloodline storyline. Judgment Day is getting the star power right now.
I can't help but notice how Roman has been around more. It's like every other week he's live and they're pitching it and they're pushing it that he's going to be here live on the show. And he isn't even doing anything. He's just yapping and killing time on the screen. So I think that is a sign of desperation. We always talk about how Roman's never around and he's never doing anything. I mean, after WrestleMania, he disappeared for like 2 months.
And it wasn't like he was even doing anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he wasn't doing a TV show or...
Every other week. Yep, Roman's going to be in next week, and there's going to be a showdown with Jay. Yep, Roman's in next week. We're going to have the Tribal Council. Yep.
He should be there.
No.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, but it's a sign of desperation.
That's the problem. We're all surprised that he's doing it. He's your undisputed world heavyweight champion, undisputed whatever, universal. He should be on every episode. Like that is like we're acting like, oh wow, he's showing up there. Like, is that the new norm too? Like now we're just gonna it's a surprise when the champion's on this show because that never.
Well, no. Like, you know what my problem is, and maybe you have a thought on this. He's showing up, but he's not doing anything.
Well, no, yeah.
Like I want him to show up and wrestle. I want him to show up and defend. Even if he doesn't defend, get in a tag match or build a little storyline with him in it. He's just coming out and crying and yapping for 28 minutes.
Now let me ask you this: do you think they're pulling another Stone Cold where he's actually injured?
No, he's not.
And they're not. I mean, they're not going to tell him.
No, he's a part-timer.
You don't think he could be maybe injured and they're trying to disguise it?
No, it's probably in his contract how many times he's going to wrestle a year. That's why he's not wrestling.
Or there's a minimum and then they pay him more and they're halfway through the year and they're like, holy crap, you took April and May off.
I guess what I just don't understand, I'm very confused with the whole Roman Reigns. I get John Cena, he's part-time, but you can see what John Cena is doing outside the ring. What's Roman Reigns doing outside the ring? I'm going to be part-time, but I'm going to do absolutely nothing outside. Like, you don't see what he's doing. Like, when The Rock went part-time, you saw what he was doing. When Roman Reigns, or when John Cena and Brock Lesnar, like, you saw what they were doing outside the ring with other things. Like, I mean, maybe it's with family. Maybe that's what,
I think the reason why we have an issue with it is just because I don't think he's just at that status of a Rock or a Stone Cold or a Cena to where they could get away with stuff like that. Look, when Hulk Hogan joined WCW, his contract was 4 pay-per-views a year, and whatever the hell he wanted to show up on Nitro,
Mm-hmm.
and that worked because especially when you had the NWO era, you had guys to fall back on like Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Macho Man, Sting, Ric Flair.
Lex.
They don't have that type of roster where you can put a focus on there. So when Hulk Hogan did come back, it was a big deal, even if he did absolutely nothing except run his mouth with Eric Bischoff in the middle of the ring. You don't have that with Roman Reigns. You don't have that type of roster. You don't have that type of star power. And he's not that caliber of star that Hulk Hogan was.
I'm curious how many doors are open for him outside of WWE. I mean, we've heard Seth Rollins is in Hollywood. Becky Lynch has had.
Well, no one's in Hollywood
interest,
right now.
Well, yeah, but interest has been shown in them, in Becky Lynch and Seth. I haven't heard the same thing for Roman.
I don't see that. Maybe he's not. I mean, Raw, we know maybe he's not interested in that. I mean, he did the one movie with The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? One of the
Hobbs and Shaw, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was in that briefly, but other than that, I don't really think.
Here's the only speculation that I'll give. He has a history of cancer. Yeah. So maybe after his last, when was his last? He got cancer a few years ago. It came back.
It was like just before the pandemic, or just
it was right around 2020. Maybe when his contract came up, he just said,
I want to be home with my family.
I can see him taking it easy. Maybe he wants to be,
Maybe the doctor said due to the surgery, you can't wrestle as much as before. I mean, he only wrestles really 4 or 5 times a year now, and he does a lot of work on the mic, and his stick work has come a long way, but he ain't got Hulk Hogan's stick work.
No.
He's not at that level. I don't know. And there are a lot of, Sokoa, there's a lot happening with Solo. Like, it seems like a lot of, like the actual action as the enforcer of the bloodline. Solo's, who just came up, is now doing a lot of the physical stuff you would expect a champion in his prime to do.
Speaking of that storyline, real quick, did they announce what the belt can be on the line with Jay?
I think they're angling it that way. Right. It looks like, because if you're gonna, what do they say? When you kill a king, you don't do it in the dark. You do it in front of the whole court for everybody to see. Right. So he's going to go after the champion.
I still think there's something up with that match. So I think some kind of surprise at the end.
There'll be a dusty finish. I don't know what'll happen, but it'll be dusty.
Maybe Priest will cash in on Roman after Finn wins the title from Seth.
Or Jay.
Or
after... I'm sorry, but if Finn wins the title, maybe he cashes it in on Finn.
That could be.
Judgment Day shatters.
Yeah, but if they're really going upstream with the tension right now, do they really want to ruin it? That could be a storyline down the road. Speaking of stipulations, Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar apparently will have a stipulation, it hasn't been announced yet.
Any guesses on what that might be? Contracts, tattoo.
I don't know.
Brock Lesnar needs
Brock Lesnar already has a
the
chest
only thing
tattoo.
I could, that would be like some sort of cage match.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
I'm thinking dog collar.
What's that?
They're gonna call
Dog collar match.
What's
call
that
it-
again?
They're wearing collars and they're chained
chained.
together.
I was about to say I was gonna do the arm one. What's the one where their
Leather
arms
strap.
Oh,
are
a strap match.
strap match? I was gonna say I think they're gonna make it where they can't get away from each other.
Are there any Detroit themed matches? Because that's the kind of match where you'd be like, it's a Motor City, whatever.
Yeah. Detroit street
It
fight.
could be
that's
a
the only
last
thing
man
they-
standing. It could be a backstage. I mean, what were you? So what? Their first match was a normal match, right?
I think they've only had normal matches.
What was
haven't
the second one? Was the second one a normal match? They didn't do like that. Okay. Okay, maybe. I mean, I'm trying to think of how the second one ended. I mean, they could do.
He was using the cast on him over and over again,
Yeah.
and then I don't remember the finish.
I mean, it
think
could be
Cody
like a
won,
last
didn't he?
man standing, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a way of truly ending because this is like they're truly gonna end it. Like this is like
We hope.
this is the
Right.
end. Like what's gonna be?
Again, you can do anything. You can do a cage match. You can do a Hell in a Cell match. You can do last man standing. You can do. 100 things you can do.
Right.
Just end it.
They'll probably just do a no holds barred or a
Right.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 falls, or it'll probably be a pretty basic
And
stipulation.
speaking of crazy stuff, AEW, what's your thoughts on this? Release a list of banned moves now.
We got into that in last week's show. It's they're moving closer to WWE apparently.
I think
don't
so.
The WWE-ification. I mean, I think I said last week, everyone must be hating on MJF, especially anybody in the Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, that's
any
what
of
it
those
seemed.
guys.
And Blood and Guts last night, it didn't seem like they were doing anything different. It seemed like every other AEW show. So I don't know.
Right.
Those must have been all the stuff they had to ask permission for, and whoever's in charge said, "Yeah."
There was
go
some
for it."
broken glass that some people took bumps into. It's interesting though, and I think we mentioned this. There was nothing in there about profanity.
Right.
No, you don't have to get any clearance. So Pac, before he walked off, before he abandoned the combat club, flipped the birds like multiple times, was screaming obscenities at them. So I thought it was very interesting that you're not allowed to interact with the crowd at all. You have to get clearance on all your bumps, but you can do whatever you want to do.
Well, I think Matt's right, and what we talked about, I think a couple episodes before, is that they're starting to get more corporate. They're starting to get more. They're starting to clean it up, or a lot of the reasons why people have gone to AEW to get away from that stuff at WWE is now starting to take place at AEW, where you're starting to see a lot of the similar things.
One thing I thought was weird about the Blood and Guts is as soon as John Moxley came out, he starts stabbing people with a fork,
Oh yeah,
but he was still the first one to bleed like 10 minutes later. Everyone else was clean.
a couple of those fork shots
Weird.
looked really good though.
Alexa Bliss having a baby girl. That's big news.
Cool.
Congrats.
So I think she's going to be out for a while.
I think she's doing like December or October, something like
It's
that.
the end of the year, yeah. It's November. I think.
You think she'll be right off TV, or you think she'll be doing stuff backstage? Or?
No. I don't know. It's not like I have any privy to any information, but looking at the other women that have taken off time for babies, she'll be off for 6 months probably, and
She
it will
really
be a
didn't have
very
anything
slow.
major going on.
Yeah.
Story.
She
It'll
might be
be-
back for WrestleMania. I'd say.
I know that they
I
talked
don't
about
think- she
on
might
and
make
off.
an appearance, but I don't think we'll see her till SummerSlam
really?
at the earliest.
Next year.
Yeah, next year.
And really, the only thing she had going on was maybe the Wyatt in and out. You don't really know if that was going to take place, not take place.
It's not like you can take a bump when you're 6 months pregnant.
Ask Soraya's mom.
That's a big. Yeah, that's a big.
Freddie Prinze Jr. always seems to be making news with comments and stuff. So apparently, he says his new wrestling promotion is going to have death matches.
I didn't know he was starting a new promotion until I saw this headline.
So, what's that going to look like?
He is. In May, he was on with Van Vliet, and he was saying that he just joined the Premier Streaming Network as like a part owner.
Mhm.
And he
That's
was saying,
network that does all the
Yeah.
fights,
Yeah.
UFC, whatever.
so
else.
he was saying that like he was that was part of a broader strategic effort on his part to sort of get involved and create his own promotion of meager means, and
Is Sarah Michelle Gellar going to be on commentary?
he's open. Yeah, this will be like you think.
The Scooby Doo cast.
Buffy and Scooby are going to be calling color.
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard shows up.
A lot of injuries to report. Liv Morgan might be out with an injury again. I don't know.
After just coming back, yeah. She
yeah,
was
that's
in
from you. That was Raw.
She was seen in a sling after losing the titles on Raw, but nothing has been confirmed.
And she's got the rotator cuff problem. It's a legitimate shoulder injury.
Her and Rhea took one hell of a bump over the barricade, so I didn't see anything that looked like she got hurt, but
she came back pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I was right. Bailey did get injured at a live event. She did something to her knee.
Oh, at a live event, untelevised, dark.
Untelevised, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Bryan Danielson had surgery 2 weeks ago on his.
He did. I'm going to show a picture of below, but it's a nasty break on his forearm, and he's got like 8 screws.
So he'll be out a while.
3 rods. Yeah, he's 2 weeks ago, and he said he wants to get back. But
he's all creative now anyway backstage.
He does. Yeah,
we were laughing because they just spent the equivalent of a wrestler's contract to get his music for All In, and he's not going to be at All In now. So I don't know how that works. Do you get a refund? I don't know.
And probably the biggest news out of all of it, Seth Rollins needs back surgery to fix multiple stress fractures. As Matt said earlier, that could impact
the predictions next
match at SummerSlam.
He said he's looking for a break.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, we're all going to pick Finn, and Seth is going to win, and we're all going to be Divas champ.
No. What's going to happen is I'm going to have to try to separate myself from you guys, and I'm going to go with Seth.
Everybody just pick everything with Dan, because if we all tie, he keeps the belt.
And then I'm going to try to pick something different, and I'm going to be the Diva champ.
Everybody just pick with Dan every time. We can't lose. Dan has to keep the belt. Tie goes to the champ.
But what else? You guys heading off to Dynamite? Special ladies' night?
Yes.
Special date night with the ladies.
So this is after Blood and Guts. So this will be Blood and Guts recovery, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Is it sold out?
No, but let me look up what they're saying right now.
And it's at the whatever they call it now in Albany.
It's the MVP
Arena.
MVP Arena.
Yep. And the day before, me and my lady are going to meet Britt Baker.
Wow.
Getting some signatures, so we'll have some pictures on the social medias for that.
At a place we won't say.
We might try to get a quick one of Adam Cole when he's not looking, because we didn't.
Oh, is he there too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like afterwards.
It was announced like 3 days after we had already got the tickets.
You forget they are in the with the show in the area. It's easy to do that stuff.
Yep.
And I know the owner of the facility. He's got connections, especially in the wrestling world.
Yeah, they have a lot of wrestlers. They had Buff Bagwell there a little while ago, and
I met Sting there.
Bunch.
Yep, Sting was there. They've had a lot lately.
I did meet Side Store. I had a store in Florida for a couple of years, Clearwater. I did have Hulk Hogan walk into our store once.
Oh, really?
And he asked me about a retro system.
What's this shit?
I swear to God, he goes, now what does this do? And I swear to God, he goes, now what did this do, brother? And he pointed right to the NES Super Nintendo combo system, and I was more in shock than to really know how to explain it.
Oh my God. It's Macho Man Randy Savage.
And I
thought you died, dude.
Ric Flair?
Yeah, exactly.
And but yeah, I turned. Think about that. Turn around.
Yeah.
You're working behind the counter. You turn around and you see Hulk Hogan standing there. I was like, what? Like I could not believe it.
That's cool.
But he does have a store in Clearwater, so that's in our.
Is it like a restaurant or something? Or?
No,
he's got the Hogan Beach Shop, dude.
Yeah.
Oh right.
And I went in there. I took 2 photos carrying the belt. Actually, I got that belt there, and he had a real one.
Mm-hmm.
So I was holding up both of them and seeing the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And but it was pretty funny. But we got a little off track there.
Anyways, it should be good. Did they tease anything? Did they tease anything for next week's show? Yesterday?
I know they did, but I can't remember. They teased some matches for Collision. I don't remember what they said for Albany. Sorry, I dropped the ball.
Anything else you guys want to go over for news and rumors?
We could talk about Rick Steiner.
Yeah, Rick Steiner.
Yeah.
Well, just some controversy there with old Richard. He's not crazy about a lot of the work that Impact is doing with Giselle Shaw, thank you. With Giselle Shaw and the quintessential diva angle. Giselle Shaw is trans, for those of you that don't know, and Giselle's been wrestling in the women's division and he's been very outspoken about his distaste for that. And like many wrestlers, he has found himself alienated from a big chunk of the industry because of that. And I guess what's so interesting and controversial about this one is that initially the Detroit WrestleCon sort of stood behind him and said, nope, people have their individual beliefs, and we're going to allow him to come and do his thing, and feel free to protest him while he's here, kind of a thing. And then they backed out. So
I mean, is anyone really happy with anything at Impact?
Impact's been doing a lot of good stuff.
You think so?
They've been doing
For
some
several
really-
years now.
They've
Yeah.
been doing some really cool stuff. And they're getting, I mean, if you look at their viewership, they get 150,000. And considering they're
For
on Axis,
Yeah.
I mean,
I've never liked Impact.
they
Never.
have
No.
they are they're a good promotion. I mean, I think I wouldn't have you watch everything, but there are several matches in the last couple of months that I could send you and you'd be like, that's a good freaking match. And it's a good mix. There's good story and there's way better wrestling than you'd see on WWE. So it's a good mix. But yeah, so he's getting the cold shoulder from the industry. So I don't know, we'll see what happens there.
And the other thing I wanted to mention too is there's an update to something we talked about last week. Kevin Nash and LA Knight and that
I want your opinion on this.
and that whole thing.
So this whole Kevin Nash, you heard about what's going on with Kevin Nash and LA Knight?
I have not heard.
So a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to recap this, try and do it reasonably quick. So a couple of weeks ago, Kevin Nash on his Click This show basically just for almost no reason kind of calls out LA Knight and is basically like, does anybody else think this guy's just a knockoff of The Rock? That he basically just shoots on him. And just, So a bunch of people kind of call him out and they're like, listen, your best buddy, was knocking off gimmicks left and right. And, you're not calling...
Scarface gimmick.
Yeah, the Scarface gimmick and all that stuff. And he's kind of like, yeah, but that's still original. It's okay to take a fictional character and steal from it. But because The Rock's a real person, it's not okay. LA Knight gets on and kind of acts a little gracious about it and is like, hey, I'm trying to improve upon it, but I'm trying to take the best from Stone Cold and the best from The Rock and trying to create my own little thing by mixing everything. He's kind of gracious about it.
Right.
And Nash doubles down and is basically like, he just doubles down on it and is like, yeah, you're a hack.
Taking movie gimmicks is one thing, but copying wrestling gimmicks is something different.
Yeah, and
something along those lines.
I think my take was Nash is just doing it as a work. He's just trying to get attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he said something offhand that he probably half believes, saw that it caught fire, and is now doubling down on it, Eric Bischoff style, because he sees a spark there.
Yeah,
he's trying to get
that's probably it. Kevin Nash just likes to run his mouth sometimes.
He does.
If you listen to Click This, half the stuff he says is,
he sounds high as a kite.
half serious.
He probably is.
He sounds so high.
Well, yeah, he has his own marijuana brand now, so he's the jackknife, leaf. But I don't know. Listen, to criticize LA Knight, I mean, for taking from Steve Austin, I mean, every wrestler in every generation's done the same thing. Hulk Hogan took from Dusty Rhodes and Billy Graham. Ric Flair took from Billy Graham. Buddy Rogers stole his fucking nickname, the Nature Boy. So
I guess for some reason it's a problem now. I guess Kevin Nash has a problem
I
with
think
it
Kevin
now.
Nash is just who knows. I mean, I don't know the guy. Either he's forgot that part of the business where everybody has literally done it, or maybe he's just always had an issue with it and never just vocalized it. I don't know.
Well, the latest headline now from a couple days ago kind of seems like Kevin Nash is backpedaling a little bit. That's what it seemed like to me. Because his whole argument, part of his argument was LA Knight wasn't popular anywhere else he had been previously. Right. And then now he's saying, well, I didn't know who you were before. Sorry, whatever. It kind of feels like he's kind of like backing off now because of all the backlash.
Yeah. Probably eating his word, and probably got smartened up by a couple of his friends to be like, hey, Hulk Hogan is, Billy Graham. So, I wouldn't put any stock into Kevin Nash running his mouth. LA Knight shouldn't even bothered commenting on it. He should have just kept going doing his thing.
Who was the one guy that called out something about The Rock, and The Rock fired back at him?
Was that Grayson Waller?
Yes, I read it was 2 or 3 days ago. Something about he was making fun of The Rock when he used to walk out with one of those what The Rock used to walk out. What they call those back in the day? Yeah, but he knows like the skirt. When he used to be Rocky.
My Via?
Yeah,
the skirt or whatever.
The whatever the things were.
And
he was making fun of that, and then The Rock shot back at him. And I forgot. I could look it up, but I forgot what the comment was. But The Rock kind of shot back at him, and then he shot back at The Rock, and I was like, I wonder if that was some kind of work or not. But I mean,
who was it that was doing something a year ago with Goldberg?
Matt Riddle.
Was that Riddle?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's kind of a thing. There's kind of a bit of a precedent here with shooting on the elderly. It's kind of a.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could see why that would piss The Rock off because even though the Rocky Maivia character didn't work out, that's a very personal character because that character is his lineage, his grandfather, his father. So I'd be pissed too if I was The Rock if someone was poking fun of that.
All right, let's
by the way, that's my Diva's champion manager.
Yeah.
There you go. I guess the last thing that might be worth talking about here is Britt Baker's been talking about how she would like to take on Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, at the next Forbidden Door because Sasha's been with NJPW, and Sasha's obviously got injured and had to vacate the title, but that would be kind of for me at least, that'd be quite a dream match. That'd probably be the premier female woman's dream match.
Absolutely.
That that's like fantasy booking right there. I couldn't imagine a better match. And if you're going to do a blood and guts, wouldn't it be cool to have them in it? Now that there's the precedent of having Japan. Maybe they're up to it, maybe they're not. Either way, it'd be a hell of a match.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So,
all right, let's get into the main event here. Our last topic we're going to talk about. Eric Young showed up at this past weekend's Slammiversary at Impact? Impact Wrestling Slammiversary, their second biggest show of the year.
I think you're in Windsor.
Last we knew, he was still in WWE, so apparently he got a quiet release in April from WWE, waited out his 90-day non-compete, and then showed up back in Impact again, which is where the bulk of his career, where he became popular, was. I thought this was really interesting, though, was because of why he asked his release. He asked for it right after the Endeavor deal was announced and Vince McMahon came out of retirement and started gaining control again in WWE. He does not want to work with WWE. And I think he's the first wrestler to actually come out and blatantly say he didn't want to work with Vince McMahon. He was citing moral, creative, and personal reasons. So, I mean, I thought this would be interesting kind of talk about.
Like, was he paying the price for saying that?
No. What happened was he was released back in 2020 when WWE was releasing everybody during the pandemic. Prior to that, in NXT, he was, Sanity was one of the biggest acts there was. When they came up to the main roster, they weren't getting anything. They weren't getting pushed at all. And he reportedly had a conversation with Vince McMahon and told him right to his face, if you don't have time for me or other certain wrestlers on a 3-hour show, you're failing your wrestlers, you're failing your fans, you're failing your company. And that might have led to his release in 2020. I don't know. But when Triple H took over, again after Vince's retirement, he brought Eric Young back, supposedly for a wrestling contract, but he never showed up on TV in all that time. And then
he didn't spend much time on TV after he got brought up to the main roster. He was on
when did Triple H rehire him?
In 2020, October of 2022.
October,
yeah. Oh, wow, so he got burned big time.
Yeah.
So he comes back, he signs a contract. So that's the price of the Triple H hires.
He asked for it though.
He asked for his release.
He could still be there right now
after Vince came back.
He asked to leave.
So if I had to guess, a guy tells Vince off in 2020, right? Leaves. Vince now steps aside. Okay, works out a deal with Triple H, who everyone values and thinks is completely different than Vince, right? Signs a deal in October 2020. When did this whole Endeavor thing get announced again? I forget.
It was right around April.
Is it really
right around WrestleMania time?
So where was he between October and April? Did he do anything?
No.
Was he NXT or?
He was off screen.
There were plans for him to join the Wyatt family with Alexa Bliss and Bo Dallas, but then Bray Wyatt has this mysterious illness that no one's talking about. Alexa got...
So he kind of got burned to that a little bit.
Right. Alexa got pregnant, so...
And then if I had to guess, now that Vince is running the show again, he's back to being shunned into the back corner. If I had to guess. I mean, come on. We all know Vince. If a guy's really going to go and tell Vince that to his face, we can only imagine what happens behind the scenes.
It's just I mean, this is the thing. They have plausible deniability. Like, it's crowded. It's a crowded roster. There's 250 talents and 5 hours a week.
And yet, why is there no matches on Raw?
That's what I'm saying. They're making a creative choice.
Right.
They're making a choice to make story at least 50%. I mean, I think if you look at 5 hours of television a week? 3, 5, 6, 7. The 7 hours of television they have a week. It's probably 50-50 action to story.
This poor man right here has come in for the last 15 episodes talking about Raw and how there's no wrestling.
Yeah.
And you have all these people
Yeah, but then you have NXT where it's mostly wrestling.
And he's got to dread 3 hours of crap, and they can't put people on TV.
I mean, it's if you want an AEW product and you don't want there to be any story, then you can
it's
probably
obviously
fit
working. They're doubling ratings of AEW, so I mean, whatever they're doing obviously is.
I mean,
I'm coming around to it. They have a point because when you take the story out, I mean, look at MJF and the stuff they've done with MJF. It's killing. And that story. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. No, go ahead. I forgot what I was going to say. So go ahead.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to is 7 hours is a lot of time. But then when you say, okay, you have 250 people that want to be on the screen, how much time does that allot to you? Not counting commercial breaks.
Well, they want that money. That's where the commercials come in.
I mean, sometimes
we gotta make sure we get those.
Sometimes you pay somebody to not be on television. Sometimes you put them in golden handcuffs so they can't go anywhere else. You lock them down as long as you can.
Is that a real number, 250?
I've heard that that's the kind of the league minimum in WWE. Like, you are going to get a contract, 250, 300, not a development contract at the performance, none of that. If you're going to be traveling on screen, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're the Viking Raiders and you're jobbing for people or whether you're John Cena and you're at the top of the mountain, 250 is kind of the...
You know, what I like to do, side note, on one episode down the road, I really would like to take apart the roster for a minute and say, the 250 people, here's how many aren't wrestling because of this, and this. Here's what... I really would like to find out at the end of the day...
I basically did that.
Yeah, for the draft.
True. I mean, I really would like to see a final number, how many active...
But it's like 50%. It's like 50%.
So really think about 125, that's...
And if you think about it, 125 people wrestling, no wonder they've got 6-man tag matches that are going every other week.
With NXT, I'm sure that number's higher.
You know?
They're probably around 200.
It doesn't feel like they have... Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's not a lot of wrestling.
I mean, even if you weed out the interviewers and the managers, you know, obviously you take Paul Heyman off the list and Adam Pearce off the list, you're still looking at 225, 230 people.
We have 225 wrestlers, but Roman Reigns didn't carry the title for 3 years.
I mean, during the pandemic, all those releases, they released like 160 people. Yeah. Wrestlers, not just backstage stuff. My question is, though, Triple H brought back a lot of those people that got released. Eric Young's the first one to actually ask for his release and get granted his release. I'm wondering if this will lead to more people starting to voice they don't want to be working for Vince again. They came back to work for Triple H.
It could. I mean,
I think it's one of those situations where I think the grass is greener on the other side. And I think he's probably leaving. He thinks, you know what? I wasn't getting much out of WWE right now. Let's go try Impact. Let's go try AEW. I think you're going to start to see that with everybody. You have a guy that's been with AEW for 5 years. Let's go see what the grass is like over there. I think you're going to start seeing that with a lot of people. Like, it's like, you know, and let's be honest. If your career is not going well at AEW or WWE, okay, how many people... Look at Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, he was Stardust, wasn't doing anything, went over to AEW. Now look at him. They're paying him millions to come back. So like maybe that's what maybe it's like, you know what, I have to leave to go prove myself to then come back and get the contract I think I deserve and the TV time that I think I deserve. Obviously I think he's just being buried right now. There's just so much. So go leave, go build how many people have built careers over at Impact? Where they changed what they were from from WWE, they went to Impact, got a whole cool new gimmick, and now look at Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. The delete, like look at all they laughed and created a whole big thing. Mm-hmm. That was a big thing. Like it's the
whole JR adage: go learn a new move and come back.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. If I had to guess, I think he's realized he's got to leave to go. Maybe it's Vince. Publicly, that's what's being said, but I think it's more like I need to go build my character and my image somewhere else where I can get the time to do it.
There are 238 active as of this month.
You're gonna find that number.
There are 238 active as of this month, counting on-air personalities and stuff like that don't wrestle. So you're looking at 220 people. I mean, that is, not to get too technical, an ass load.
And you wonder why he may leave. I mean, I think he's. Maybe. Do you really think there are people that have a very, very big hard line of I don't want to work with Vince? Like, do you really think people are gonna? Are you gonna put your career on the line by going to the executive chairman and go, I don't want to work for you?
He's already had a 20+ year career, so he's kind of untouchable.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, it's no secret that Vince is a very, very tough person to work with. Oh yeah. So if you don't want to be bothered with it, why would you bother?
Even when Jon Moxley left and went to AEW. He was very clear he didn't like creative. He didn't like the way things worked in WWE. But I don't ever remember him specifically saying, Vince McMahon's an asshole. I don't want to work with him.
I think he hated. He comes from the.
He
death
hated
match.
the process.
Yeah, he comes from the deathmatch world, so he doesn't like a group of pencil neck writers coming up to him and saying, "This is what you're going to say, and this is how you're going to say it."
And he doesn't like all the side work too, the live shows and this, and he didn't want.
I did kind of get the impression he's not like let me sign your doll kind of guy,
And some people don't like that. Some people don't like the WWE process,
Yeah.
We got to be PG, I don't think Jon Moxley fits the PG program.
Actually, even Moxley said, oh my God, they're going to make me give up all this money. Because he's going to have to leave.
Right.
He didn't want to leave. The Shield was killing it,
Yeah.
Were they still together when he left?
Yeah, they got back together.
They got back. They separated, right?
They did like a reunion.
I remember it.
Before he left. Before the bloodline thing got going.
All right, that's all we got time for this week. Falls Count Anywhere, that dropped on Monday. We did an episode where we answered fan questions. Be on the lookout this Monday for the new episode, which will be...
After our conversations about Natalia and her new records last week, I did some digging and found some Guinness World Records we could talk about. So I'm going to be... testing the professor
wrestling related
on all WWE wrestling related records, and there's some really interesting ones in there. So tune in, check it out. I think
he asked me a very difficult question before the show, and what record would you go for? I don't even know which records are out there.
That's an interesting question. If you were going to go for a Guinness World Record, which one would you go for? I feel like that tells
furthest distance loogie.
Yes, that tells you. I was just going to say. That says a lot about a man. Which record you decide you're going to take. So I thought that would be... Anyways, so that's what we're going to talk about. All the official Guinness records. A lot of video game related ones. That's what I found.
Yep, that's
half
true.
Half of them are all video game related. So.
All right, so keep an eye out on that. Keep an eye on our social medias. We've got our predictions for SummerSlam will be on next week's show. And we're going to do a watch-along for SummerSlam.
You're enjoying that.
The belt's on the line.
The belt's on the line.
How can you not be happy when you're walking around with the belt? I mean, come on.
Glamorous, glamorous, glamorous.
August 5th, that'll be SummerSlam. We'll be doing a watch-along. Until then, you keep watching. We'll keep wrestling with the business.